She picked up my graduation cake with both hands and dumped it in the trash. The whole thing. White frosting, blue letters spelling "Congrats, Maya," the little cap decoration I'd spent 20 minutes choosing at the bakery. I watched it land on top of coffee grounds and yesterday's takeout, heard the box crunch as she pressed the lid down. She turned to me, wiped her hands on her jeans, and said, "Nobody cares about your little community college diploma. Stop acting like you cured cancer." Then she walked out of the kitchen, leaving me standing there with 20 guests in my backyard waiting for cake. I was 22 years old. I'd worked full-time while taking classes at night for 4 years to earn that degree. I'd paid for it myself, every penny. And my sister had just thrown my celebration in the trash like it was garbage. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, trying to decide if I should cry or scream or just leave my own party. Then I did something I'd never done before. I smiled, walked outside, told my friends and the few family members who'd shown up that there had been an accident with the cake, ordered pizza instead, and quietly, calmly, decided that my sister was done being part of my life. 6 years later, she called me crying. I almost didn't answer. Her name on my phone screen made my stomach clench. But curiosity won. "Maya, I need help. I'm going to be evicted. I need $3,000 for back rent or I'm out on the street by Friday. Please. You're the only one I can ask." I looked around my apartment, at the framed diploma on the wall, at the promotion letter from my company, at the life I'd built without her. "No," I said. Her crying stopped. Silence. Then, "What do you mean, no?" "I'm your sister, and you threw my graduation cake in the trash," I said. "Remember? Nobody cares, you said. Well, I don't care about your rent." I hung up. And that's when everything started. Let me take you back. Because this wasn't about a cake. This was about 22 years of being the sister who didn't matter, whose achievements were minimized, whose existence was an inconvenience to someone who'd been handed everything and still acted like a victim. If you've ever had a sibling who treated your wins like personal attacks, who couldn't stand to see you happy, who made every moment about them, you already know this story isn't really about cake. Riley was 2 years older and had been the center of attention since birth. The pretty one, the outgoing one, the one strangers stopped to compliment. I was the quiet one, the serious one, the one teachers forgot was in the room. When we were kids, Riley got modeling gigs, local catalogs, mall photo shoots, nothing huge but enough that my parents treated her like a celebrity. They drove her to auditions, bought her portfolios, talked about her career. I played soccer on a rec league team. Nobody came to my games. High school made it worse. Riley was prom queen, cheerleader, dated the quarterback in a cliché so perfect it hurt. I was in honors classes, worked part-time at a bookstore, had 2 close friends, and a quiet life. My parents' Facebook was a Riley highlight reel. Her homecoming photos, her cheer competitions, her boyfriend's car. My honor roll certificates never made it online. When I asked why, Mom said, "Honey, grades are private. We don't want to embarrass other kids." But Riley's cheer trophies weren't private, apparently. After graduation, Riley went to a state university 3 hours away. My parents paid her tuition, her room and board, gave her a car, sent spending money. She lasted a 1.5 years before dropping out, said college wasn't for her, moved back home and started finding herself, which meant working retail part-time and partying full-time. Meanwhile, I graduated high school with no college fund, no car, no backup plan. I enrolled at community college because it was what I could afford while working 40 hours a week at a call center. My parents' reaction to my college announcement was tepid. "That's practical," Dad said. "Not proud." not encouraging, practical. Riley said, "Community college? Isn't that just like remedial high school?" She laughed. My mother didn't correct her. I went to my room and cried. Then I made a plan. I'd get my associate's degree in business, transfer to a 4-year school, build something Riley's modeling headshots never could. A real career. Those 2 years were brutal. I worked 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the call center. Took classes 6 to 10 p.m. 3 nights a week and Saturdays. Studied on my lunch breaks, ate vending machine dinners, slept maybe 5 hours a night. I didn't go to parties, didn't date, didn't have time for anything but work and school, and the desperate need to prove I was more than the forgotten sister. Riley spent those same 2 years drifting. She worked at a boutique, quit when the manager criticized her, worked at a salon, got fired for showing up late, started dating a guy named Trent who was unemployed and lived with his parents. My parents enabled everything, paid her car insurance when she couldn't, covered her phone bill, gave her money for rent when she finally moved into Trent's apartment. Every time I suggested maybe they should let her struggle, my mother said, "She's going through a hard time. Not everyone is as put together as you." Put together. Like I'd been born organized instead of making myself that way out of necessity. Like I wasn't drowning in exhaustion and student loan payments. But I kept my mouth shut and kept working. When I transferred to state after getting my associates, my parents contributed nothing. I took out more loans, worked 2 part-time jobs. Riley posted photos of brunch and complained on Facebook about being broke. The irony was lost on no one but her. Senior year, I got accepted into a competitive management training program with a tech company. It meant a job after graduation, real salary, benefits, career track. I was the only person from my school to get it that year. I called my parents excited. "That's great, honey," Mom said. "Listen, Riley just got some bad news. Trent broke up with her. She's devastated. Can you come home this weekend and cheer her up?" I said I had a project due. Mom sighed like I was being difficult. Graduation day came. I'd invited my parents, Riley, my grandparents, a few friends. Small gathering. I'd ordered a cake from the good bakery, the one that cost more than I wanted to spend, but this was my moment. 4 years of hell, and I was walking across that stage with honors. I'd earned celebration. The ceremony was at 11 a.m. My parents showed up at 10:55, harried and distracted. Riley came 20 minutes late, walked in during the speeches, made a scene finding a seat. But they were there. That was something. After the ceremony, we went back to my apartment for the small party I'd planned. Burgers on my little grill, chips, the cake waiting on the counter. I was putting on my graduation cap for photos when Riley walked into the kitchen. I heard the trash can lid open, heard something heavy drop. Came around the corner just as she was pressing the lid down on my cake. "What are you doing?" I asked. She looked at me like I was stupid. It was taking up counter space. Nobody wants cake. And honestly, Maya, a community college associate's and a basic state school diploma? Stop acting like you cured cancer. Nobody cares. I felt like I'd been slapped. My mother, who'd been right there, said nothing. My father was outside. My friends hadn't heard. Riley walked past me, grabbed a beer from my fridge, and went out to the patio like nothing had happened. I stood in my kitchen, looking at the closed trash can, and something crystallized inside me. This was it. This was the moment I understood that Riley would always minimize me to make herself feel bigger, and my parents would always let her. I didn't make a scene. I went outside, made excuses about the cake, ordered pizza, smiled through the party, hugged my friends when they left. And when my family left, I closed the door and made a decision. I was done. Done trying to make them see me. Done hoping Riley would change. Done accepting scraps of attention. I had a job starting in 6 weeks. I had my degree. I had a life to build. And none of them were going to be in it. I moved to Denver for the training program. 400 miles from home. I didn't tell anyone except my roommate and my best friend. Just packed my car, left a note, and drove. My mother called crying. "You didn't even say goodbye." "Riley threw my graduation cake in the trash and you said nothing," I replied. "I don't need that in my life anymore." "She's your sister. She was having a bad day. You're being petty." "Okay," I said. "Then I'm petty. I'll call you when I'm settled." I didn't call for 3 months. The training program was intense. 60-hour weeks. Constant learning. Pressure to perform. I loved it. For the first time in my life, I was somewhere my family's dysfunction couldn't touch me. I made friends with other trainees. I excelled. I got promoted after a year to team lead. Then manager. Then senior manager. I bought a condo. I started dating someone who thought I was brilliant. I built a whole life. I talked to my parents maybe once a month. Surface-level conversations. They asked about work. I gave vague answers. They talked about Riley. She'd moved back home again. Trent had come back. Left again. She was working at a gym. She was thinking about going back to school. She was always thinking about things she never did. I made polite noises and changed the subject. I didn't ask about her. I didn't care. Riley sent me a Facebook friend request after a year. I ignored it. She texted, "Why are you being like this? I'm your sister." I blocked the number. My mother called. "You're being cruel to Riley. She misses you." "She threw my graduation cake in the trash," I said. "I've moved on." "That was years ago." "Let it go." "I did let it go," I said. "I let you all go." 3 years passed. I got another promotion. Director of Operations. 6-figure salary. Team of 20 people. I bought a house. Small, but mine. I went to therapy and worked through the family stuff. Learned that I didn't owe anyone my energy just because we shared DNA. Learned that walking away from toxicity wasn't cruel. It was self-preservation. I built a chosen family with friends and colleagues who celebrated my wins instead of minimizing them. Then Riley's call came. 6 years after the cake incident. 6 years of silence. And she needed $3,000. When I hung up after saying no, she called back immediately. I didn't answer. She called 15 more times. Left voicemails. The first few were crying, begging. "Please, I have nowhere else to turn. I know I was awful to you, but I've changed. Please." Then they turned angry. "You're really going to let me be homeless? What kind of sister are you? You make all this money and you can't help me?" Then desperate again. "Mom told me you're doing so well. You have a house. I'm living in a studio apartment I can't afford. Please." I listened to each voicemail once. Then I did something calculated. I called my mother. "Riley's calling me for money," I said. "She says she's being evicted." "Oh, thank God you called," Mom said. "Can you help her? Your father and I are tapped out. We've been giving her money for months, but she's so far behind." "No," I said. "I won't be giving her anything." Silence. "Maya, she's your sister. She's desperate. She's an adult who's never faced consequences. You've enabled her for 28 years. I'm not joining that pattern." "We raised you to help family," Mom said, her voice getting that guilt-trip tone I knew so well. "You raised me to be responsible," I corrected, "by ignoring me and giving Riley everything." "Well, I learned. I learned to take care of myself because no one else would. Now Riley needs to learn the same lesson." "You've gotten so cold." Mom said. I've gotten healthy, I said. There's a difference. I hung up. Riley's calls continued. I blocked her number. She called from other numbers. Friends' phones. Unknown numbers. I blocked them all. She found me on LinkedIn. Sent messages there. I reported them as spam. She emailed my work address. That was a mistake. I forwarded it to HR showing a pattern of harassment and got our IT to block her domain. She showed up at my office building once. Security turned her away because she wasn't on my visitor list. She was nothing if not persistent. Then she went public. Posted on Facebook. When your successful sister lets you become homeless because she's too selfish to help family, some people forget where they came from. It got traction. Mutual acquaintances commented. That's awful. Family should help family. Some people who knew me defended me. Maybe there's more to the story. But the damage was done. She'd painted me as the villain. I'd learned something in my 6 years of therapy, though. Other people's opinions couldn't pay my mortgage, couldn't define my worth. So I ignored it. Let her post go viral in our small hometown circles. Didn't respond. Didn't defend myself. Just kept living my life. My real friends knew the truth. That's what mattered. A week after her Facebook post, I got a call from my grandmother. My father's mother, the one person in my family who'd always been kind to me. Maya, I saw Riley's post. Tell me your side. So I did. I told her everything. The graduation cake, the years of being invisible, Riley's pattern of taking without giving. My grandmother listened. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Good for you. I wish I'd taught your father to set boundaries with his family. Maybe he'd have taught you all better." "You don't think I'm being cruel?" I asked. "I think you're protecting yourself," she said. "Riley's always been enabled. Your parents know it. They just can't admit they created this problem. But you didn't create it, and you don't have to fix it." That conversation freed something in me, the last bit of guilt I'd been carrying. If Grandma, the family matriarch, the woman everyone respected, thought I was right, then I was right. Riley's eviction went through. She moved in with my parents. Again. She was 28 years old, moving back into her childhood bedroom because she couldn't pay rent. My mother called. "Are you happy now? Your sister is living at home, devastated, all because you wouldn't help." "I didn't make Riley lose her apartment," I said calmly. "Her choices did. I hope she finds her way. But it won't be with my money." "You're breaking this family apart," Mom said. "No," I said. "I'm just not holding it together anymore. That's not my job." The months passed. I heard through Grandma that Riley was working at a coffee shop, that she and my parents fought constantly, that she was dating someone new. I didn't ask for details. I was busy getting another promotion, VP of Operations, leading a department, speaking at industry conferences, building a reputation, living a life Riley couldn't touch. Then came the call that changed everything. It was from my mother, but her tone was different. Not demanding, not guilt-tripping, scared. "Maya, your father had a heart attack. He's stable, but he's in ICU. Can you come?" I got in my car and drove the 400 miles without thinking. Because however much they'd failed me, he was still my father. And there are some things you show up for. At the hospital, Riley was in the waiting room. We hadn't seen each other in 6 years. She looked older, tired. I looked past her, asked a nurse where my father's room was. Riley followed me. "Maya, wait, please. Can we talk?" "Not now," I said. "Your father asked to see you both together," the nurse said. So we went in together, awkward and silent. Dad looked small in the hospital bed, hooked up to machines, pale, older than I remembered. He saw us and his eyes filled with tears. "My girls," he said. His voice was weak. "I'm so glad you're both here." Riley immediately went to his side, took his hand. I stood at the foot of the bed, arms crossed. "How are you feeling?" I asked. "I'm okay," he said. "But being here made me think about what matters. You two need to fix this. Life's too short for my daughters to not speak." Riley started crying. "I've been trying to apologize for years. She won't even listen." I looked at my father. "She threw my graduation cake in the trash and told me nobody cared. That was 6 years ago. She only called me again when she needed money. That's not a sister. That's someone who uses people." "I was awful," Riley said. "I was jealous and petty, and I took out my own failures on you. I've wanted to apologize for real, but you won't talk to me." "Because apologies without changed behavior are just words," I said. "You've spent 6 years living the same pattern. Moving home, needing money, creating drama. An apology doesn't mean anything if you're still the same person." "I'm trying to change," she said. "I've been in therapy for 3 months. I got a better job. I'm paying mom and dad rent. I'm actually trying." I looked at her. Really looked. She did look different. Not just older. More tired, maybe. More humble. "That's good," I said. "I mean that. I hope you keep trying." "Can we start over?" she asked. "Can you forgive me?" I took a breath. "I can forgive you, Riley. But that doesn't mean going back to how things were. I have a life now. Boundaries. I'm not your backup plan or your ATM. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be real. No using me, no minimizing my achievements to make yourself feel better. Real respect." "I can do that," she said quickly. Too quickly. I shook my head. "Don't promise in a hospital room during a crisis. Show me over time. If you're serious about changing, prove it. Not with words. With actions." My father squeezed Riley's hand, looked at me. "That's fair," he said. "Maya, I'm proud of you. I don't think I've said that enough. You built a whole life. All on your own. I'm sorry we didn't see that while you were doing it." Those words hit harder than I expected. I felt tears start, but pushed them back. "Thank you," I said. "That means something." Riley looked at me. "I'm proud of you too. I always was. I just couldn't handle feeling like a failure next to you, so I tried to make you small. That was wrong." "Yeah," I said. "It was." Dad recovered. Got sent home after a week. I went back to Denver, but I drove down once a month to visit. Not for Riley, for him. To be the daughter who showed up. Riley texted sometimes. Nothing deep. Just little updates. Got promoted to shift lead at the coffee shop. Moved into my own place again, studio, but it's mine. 3 months clean from drama with mom and dad. I responded politely, kept my distance but wasn't cruel. 6 months after the heart attack, Riley asked if she could visit me in Denver. Just for a weekend. To see my life. I almost said no. Then I thought about my father in that hospital bed. About how short life was. About how I'd built something good and maybe, Riley had actually changed. "One weekend," I said. "You stay in a hotel. We'll see how it goes." She came. It was awkward at first. We walked around my neighborhood, got coffee, talked about surface things. She met my boyfriend, saw my house. "You really did it," she said, looking around my living room. "Built something real." "Yeah," I said. "I did." "I'm sorry I made you feel like it didn't matter," she said. "I'm sorry for the cake. For all of it." You deserve to be celebrated, and I couldn't handle not being the center of attention. I know, I said. That's trauma work you have to do, not me. I'm doing it, she said. Therapy twice a week, working through why I need constant validation. It's hard, but I'm trying. I nodded. That's good, Riley. Really? We were never going to be close like sisters in movies. Too much damage. But maybe we could be cordial. Maybe see each other on holidays. Maybe that was enough. That was 2 years ago. Now Riley has a stable job. Her own apartment she's kept for 18 months. She's dating someone decent who has a job and goals. She paid me back $500 last Christmas. Not the $3,000 she'd asked for, but $500 with a note. First installment. I'll pay back what I owe in time, not just money. Thank you for showing me what accountability looks like. I cried reading that note. Not because we were fixed, but because maybe she was finally growing up. My parents and I have an okay relationship now. Better than before. They've apologized more directly for the favoritism. They're trying harder with me. Some days it's enough. Some days it's not. But I'm not waiting for them to fill a hole anymore. I filled it myself. With my career, my home, my chosen family, my life that I built from nothing while they were busy elsewhere. The graduation cake in the trash was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not because it felt good, it felt awful, but because it showed me exactly who Riley was and who I needed to be. Someone who didn't need anyone's permission to matter. Someone who celebrated herself since no one else would. Someone who knew her worth even when her family didn't. If you've ever had a sibling tear you down instead of lift you up, if you've ever been told your achievements don't matter, if you've ever been asked for help by someone who was cruel to you when you needed them, this story is for you. You don't owe anyone access to your success just because they're family. You don't have to fund someone's life who funded your insecurity. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people struggle until they learn to stand on their own. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had to set a boundary with a sibling who only came back into your life when they needed something? Did you help them, or did you choose yourself? I read every story. And if you want more stories about people who built extraordinary lives after being torn down by family, subscribe. There's always another person choosing themselves and thriving.